Welcome back to Storytime with Horse Buddies. This is Rhoda with the National Museum of Racing and Hall of Fame, and I am happy to see you again, and I am also happy to share our next story with you. Are you ready for it? It is called Upset, the Original Dark Horse. And this story was written by our friend Maddie Zanetti, and the lovely pictures, the illustrations that we're going to see together today were created by our friend Gretchen Louise Tisch. So let's stop for just a second and thank both Maddie and Gretchen for sharing their story with us so that I can now share it with you. Thank you, Maddie and Gretchen. Okay, before we get started, I wanted to point out a few things. So this book, like I said, is called Upset, the Original Dark Horse. You might be wondering, what is a dark horse? Well, that's something that we are going to find out more about together. And also, this name, Upset, is the name of this horse in our story. But this horse in our story was based off a real horse that ran more than 100 years ago. So the story is set a long time ago. And let's see what happens in it together. I'm not going to give anything away, but I'm telling you, something big happens. Okay, are you ready for this? Let's go. There once was a racehorse named Upset. Though he tried his best, he was never a smart bet. You see, he was a dark horse, an unknown racer on the race course, a long shot to most with no winning record to boast. Upset was born sleek and black with rare white spots on his back. He was built much smaller than most, with as much chance of winning as seeing a ghost. When Upset lost, he did not get angry or mad. He congratulated the other horses on the great race they had. Then he would go home and work harder on his run, but always remembered to have some fun. His dream was to one day run in Saratoga Springs, where all the best horses were treated like kings. Many times Upset ran against a great horse who always ran with tremendous force. The fast horse was big and red and always let winning go to his head. Though Upset tried to beat the red horse, he always finished behind him on the race course. The arrogant red horse would brag about his awards and once even said, "I could beat Upset if I started backwards." Though this remark made prideful little Upset sad, he knew he had more heart than that red horse had. Dedicated and focused, Upset trained hard to accomplish his goal. He had wished to race in Saratoga since he was a foal. Finally, he was given a chance to compete in the Sanford Stakes at the Saratoga meet. Oh my goodness, it looks like Upset has received a letter. What does it say? It says, "You are invited to compete at the Sanford Stakes in Saratoga Springs on August 13th, 1919. Upset looks awfully happy to get that letter, don't you think? When he arrived at the barn, he was ready to go. He knew today he could not be slow. Then he spotted the red horse taking a bath, getting ready for photos and autographs. The red horse saw Upset walk in, and he smiled at him with a taunting grin. And he said, "Why do you even try to race when you know I always finish in first place?" Look at all those photographers lined up to get pictures of that big red horse. As they lined up to race, the red horse spun around and said, "I'll give you a head start and still run you down." The red horse's remark made Upset frown, but if Upset could win, he'd be the talk of the town. When the bell rang out, Upset shot off with a blast. He knew he had his chance, but he had to move fast. As they came around the last turn, Upset's worn-out legs started to burn. The red horse was gaining ground, but Upset was done being pushed around. When they passed the last quarter pole, Upset reminded himself of his goal. The red horse was getting close, but Upset just had to win by a nose. And as they came toward the finish line, the crowd's excitement grew. Upset ran so hard and fast, it was as if he flew. The red horse was right on his tail with a few strides to go, but Upset would not let him win today. Oh no. As they crossed the finish, they were neck and neck. Upset was unsure he had won. He needed to check. He slowed down and turned toward the crowd when he heard over the speakers, nice and loud, "Folks, today we saw history with Little Upset. That long shot is the only horse to beat the red horse yet." Look at all those people lined up to see that race that day. When the race was done, no one could believe Upset had won. See Upset there? And that's his jockey. His jockey's name was Willie Knapp. We're going to talk more about Willie Knapp in a second. Upset was shocked he had done it first place, but the first thing he did was to tell the red horse, "Good job and nice race." Modest and humble, Upset did not cheer loud. Inside, though, he was proud. Upset was exhausted from sprinting almost a mile, but he could not help but smile. Upset had worked hard to accomplish his goal, and toward the winner's circle, he started to stroll. So the name Upset went down in history. How he beat that big red horse was to some a mystery. Now, when you hear of an upset in sports, you'll know it was a surprise winner of sorts. Like Upset, a long shot no one would endorse. The unlikely champion is known as the dark horse. So that's what a dark horse means, an underdog, somebody that nobody thinks might win, but comes back and actually does win. So let's see what this says. I don't know if you can make it out, so I'm gonna get a little closer. This says, Sanford Memorial is won by Upset. Man o' War, so Man o' War was that big red horse. Man o' War was beaten by a neck in Saratoga Springs, New York. So the original Upset was born in 1917, and he was owned by a man named Harry Payne Whitney. And like I said before, he was ridden by jockey Willie Knapp. He ran against Man o' War, one of the greatest racehorses of all times, 7 times. And Man o' War only lost 1 race in his entire career of 21 races. And that 1 race that he lost was to Upset on August 13th, 1919 in the Sanford Memorial Stakes, just like our story told us. But just so you know, Upset had an advantage on this particular race day. Before there were starting gates, horses were lined up with a rope to start their races. Man o' War's jockey had not yet gotten Man o' War turned toward the start when the race began. So Man o' War did start later than all the other horses that day. Upset finished second to Man o' War in the other 6 races they ran against each other. He was a great horse who raced with one of the best horses in history. Thank you so much for joining me for Upset, the original dark horse. I look forward to seeing you next time. Until then, take some time to go to our website and you will see the activity that is there for you for this book, Upset. You'll have a chance to learn more about him and the race that day. If you'd like to take a picture of your work and email it to me at rferraro@racingmuseum.net, I would love to see it. And maybe, just maybe, I will feature it on the next Storytime with Horse Buddies. Thank you so much. I look forward to seeing you next time, and bye for now.